I am delighted to have a conversation here with Audrey Hall. Audrey, can you quickly introduce yourself, who are you, what it is you do?
Sure. I'm Audrey Hall. I work at Coupa. We are an enterprise software company. Software, not so much anymore, but and we do procurement, business spend management, supply chain.
Do you know what? Everyone knows Coupa, but they don't quite know like what category of software that they do. Now you've explained it to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they're a huge company, right?
2,500 employees currently.
Yeah, fantastic. And you've been around for how long now as a business?
We will celebrate 20 years next year.
Fantastic stuff. How long have you worked at Coupa?
I'm just finished 3.5 years.
All right, fantastic. So you've kind of seen the AI wave happen.
Absolutely.
During this period.
And we're an AI agentic company, so AI is part of what we do.
Can you tell us a little bit about how AI has impacted sort of how Coupa is thinking about talent acquisition and employer branding?
Sure. In talent acquisition, so we are a Google house, so we do use Gemini. Some of us still use ChatGPT. We've moved to GEMS CRM. So we use AI sourcing and AI sourcing bots. And that's been a pivot for our team. We let go of LinkedIn Recruiter, decided to make a really big pivot to sourcing and using the sourcing bot. That's a massive change for your recruiters to make that pivot. We do help them a little bit with their writing, their sequences. We've written some for them, but then we allow them to use AI to write them in their voice, what they choose. So we've given them a structure, a platform based on personas. So we use AI there. We're moving to Happydance, so we're gonna have AI in there, AI reporting.
Fantastic.
So it's absolutely part of all we do, from summaries of reports to how we write. It's a variety of places.
Tell me about the LinkedIn Recruiter thing, because I think that recruiters generally just expect to always have LinkedIn Recruiter available. So that seems to me there might have been some painful resistance to the idea of removing that out.
I'm going to tell you, I thought it was less than I had anticipated. It was a long, concentrated process of thinking about it. At the same time, we were launching GEMS CRM. So there was a tandem conversation going on and what was best for our budget, what was best for the team. And when we really saw what was going to happen in GEMS CRM, I hired a recruitment marketing specialist who was going to take the lead in GEM.
Right.
And with her development of the recruiters and having them learn to pivot to be, instead of sticky paper, I use that a lot, they're not sticky paper. It's not the post and pray anymore.
Yeah.
So be strategic, utilizing the resources we have, designing sequences where they can source and nurture and become recruitment marketers. So we've really embraced that. Has some struggle? Yes. It's easy. It goes into LinkedIn, you get job applications. I've heard pretty consistently across the team that they've said it's the quantity that has gone, not the quality. They feel quality has improved.
Yeah, really interesting, because we actually have that problem at large with too much quantity, not enough quality, particularly with, candidate usage of artificial intelligence. There's really interesting tools out there now that really support job seekers to increase their applicant rate, for instance. And we can understand, hey, listen, it's okay to use those tools, but on the recruitment side, when you're on the receiving end, it just means more noise to have to filter through. How do you think it's going to sort of roll out between sort of candidates going forward and recruitment teams and technology in between? How do you see that sort of unfolding going, let's say, next 3-4 years down the track?
So that's where I think my role comes into bigger play. And if you flip it and say in marketing, if they had a technology tool change, what would they do? What pivots would they make? How would they look forward? I think that's employer brand comes into play. That's where you're involved across the business, from internal comms to external comms. What are we doing to market the company differently and more actively and long-term? And I think that's where our candidates are going to find us doing search about a company, brand reputation. That's when what we're saying, what our candidates are saying in their reviews, and what our current employees are saying are going to make the difference when it comes to the technology you're using and how we're perceived. I think the changes in TA and HR in general, what's happening is very similar to what happened in social media. When social first came into play, right? It was not B2B. And so B2B, like LinkedIn, is really sort of taking it over, but it's going through its own evolution. So I see us doing the same thing, but we have more tech than ever involved in what we do. So a similar pivot, and you got to think ahead.
Yeah, really, really interesting. Let's have a look at a slightly different sort of view. You're going to implement Happydance presumably because you weren't happy with the existing or previous sort of implementation you had. If we could imagine the career site to be like a dating profile, what would be the red flag on the old site that you thought, you know what, this signals a red flag to me, I'm going to move away?
No growth in 3 years, no growth strategy in the CMS, very poor analytics. Nowadays, we're accountable for our numbers, right? That those analytics are going to drive what we do. They're going to inform. We're a data-driven company. I'm in a data-driven company. So that's going to absolutely inform. Happydance did that. They also had an integration with our new ATS that's coming up and the CRM.
Mm-hmm.
Those integrations were really critical for the data. I can't wait to dig into that data. That is going to be a space that's going to inform my new content strategist, my recruitment marketer, and me on strategy. So definitely the analytics are a big piece. And when a company doesn't have a vision for growth,
yes,
I think that's a red flag.
Yeah, and it comes across, doesn't it, when you do appear, when you hit sort of a career page where it's moribund, it hasn't changed for several years, the content is kind of jaded. For some reason, you can feel that as a candidate.
Oh, you absolutely can. And my team will tell you, I hate stock photos. There are very little, and anything might be on a blog, but I'm all about they better be real companions, real people in their work journey. That is critical to me. Those tell your stories when you have real faces wherever they are, whether it be at a sales kickoff or at a customer meeting.
There's a concept now in this era where we're so dominated by AI-enabled content, generative AI and so forth, that authenticity might be the only differentiator an organization might have, because everyone's going to be able to create snazzy videos and, AI-generated copy and so forth. How have you been able to kind of communicate that internally to all of the stakeholders and all of the other employees outside of the recruitment marketing space to say, you know what, we have to be more authentic and get our sort of true voice out there, our true work out there?
So I think that's where you can do the combination. You have your reluctant users, ones who might not be comfortable sitting in this space, but that's where AI can help, right? We can have rehearsals. You can have different types of interactions that will allow them to participate. Writers, they're not real comfortable writing. We can give you a framework, and then AI can help grow that a little bit. I think it can help those people who are not comfortable in front, but want to be behind the scenes. Yeah. So I think this gives the courage and the ability to try new things that we haven't been able to do before. And I've had some reluctant people be in interviews, and they're spectacular. And AI has been very helpful and informative.
It does have the effect of unlocking a lot of things, doesn't it? Because a lot of people have a technical problem, or they feel as if they're technically not good at writing, or they're not good on camera, or whatever it might be. But actually, it enables a lot more people to participate in telling a story about a company.
It really does. You can give it its prompts, right? I'm looking for this. These are my facts. And that non-writer, and then what we do is we take it then and change the voice a little bit. We try to keep their authenticity. We try to mold a little bit, making sure we have the right words and help them along. But this really gives us the big meat, and then we can adjust it along the way.
Yeah, fantastic. Final question for you, Audrey. If you were to address the audience of TA leaders, NEB professionals right now, what's one piece of advice you'd give them if they were thinking about how to kind of land their voice of their talent brand in this market in 2025 and moving into 2026?
Well, bottom line, it's authenticity. But I think we've decided to dig into our values. We have 4 new values, so that's a pivot for the company. We've had to embrace them, and that our storytelling, every story we tell, on my side, not customer side, ties to those 4 values. And that is helping not only internal culture and awareness. I get to hear those stories, but not everybody does internally. But when you invite participants to tell a story, that is really helpful. Recognition is key to it. We have a recognition platform, but it's a supporting manager telling a quick little story, and it ties to a value. What we did is we curated them, asked them would they be willing to participate, and we asked them to write answers to 4 different responses. And now I have 22 different blogs based on that. A simple recognition plan, help for internal and external.
That seems like an example of like compounding effects of doing one good thing. which is, hey, should we not recognize sort of good work by our employees? Of course you should. But then it turns into a content sort of play as well, because you've got so much rich sort of storytelling emerging from 4 simple questions that you ask people to fill out.
And content is never done. You know this. You record a video, you can break it into pieces. You can divide it into a testimonial. You can take it into chunks and put it into a blog, and then you put it on social, LinkedIn. Like, content is never one and done, and you post it once and it did great. You post it again, you're like, ah. But you keep trying different formats to see what's resonating and at different times. So it's never a one and done.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. Audrey Hall, thank you so much for spending time with me.
Thanks, I appreciate the conversation. Thank you.